it's like a landline at your old house in the '90s and the '80s. And did you ever have a landline? I'm gonna come.
Oh yeah.
Is it? Uh, uh, no, I mean like when you were like living on your own.
Yes.
I didn't
Yes.
finish the first thought saying it's like you have multiple phones in the house, but only one line coming in, so they all ring. Now, when you had a landline, was it a true landline or was it VoIP?
No, it was true. So first, I guess when I first moved out, cell phones were occasionally available, predominantly as the car phone, bag phone style, or you had a pager. And so I had a pager and a landline. And then it wasn't, it might have been a year, maybe a year and a half later that VoIP became an option. So it wasn't a prolonged period of time that I had a landline, but there was a period of time where I had a true landline.
Interesting. I never owned a true landline. Um, and I mean, I guess maybe that's the difference between 2 years, 1979 and 1981.
Well, I mean, I know it definitely wasn't more than 2 years from first landline that I had and Vonage providing a VoIP solution.
So what was, I guess, let me back up and say, what year was it that you moved out on your own and paid for your own landline?
97.
Okay.
Yep, right after I graduated.
I gotcha. Because like, see, I moved, I lived, I lived where I didn't pay for a phone line. I lived somewhere where I didn't pay for a phone line through college, and so it wasn't until 2004 that I had my own place, and I didn't. I just used my cell phone. My ex-wife and I moved in together, and I used my own. We used our respective cell phones for communication. But it was in 2005. When I moved to New York. There was a package deal where it was like internet, phone, and TV all came together, and it was like buying just one of them by themselves was, I want to say, $50 or $60 a month, and but buying all three, bundled all three, it was $100 a month. So it was like, yeah, hardly ever used the phone, but had it, and it was VoIP.
I remember those bundles because I had one of those at one point, and then it wasn't. I was on the early end of just severing ties with cable for a bit because we were doing a lot of we just said sharing of media during a particular time frame, and then I guess I don't think I got cable again until they quit dropping, or they quit making the bundles require the phone to get the discounted price, where you could get like internet and cable for the same or better than you could get the two individually. Because for a little while there, if you didn't get all three, they didn't give you the bundle.
Right, right. All right, that's yeah. Well, I had the bundle of three, and it was. I remember because it was a promotion. It was a year-long promotion. So then, a year later, it's like, oh, your bill goes to 150 from $100 a month to $150 a month, and I was like, hey, I didn't. I remember calling up. It was Cablevision in the suburbs of New York, and I said, hey. It was $100 last month, and now it's $150. And they're like, "Yeah, that promotion's over." And I was like, "Can I get it again?" And they're like, "Okay." I got it for another year. I mean, it was just a real simple conversation. I was like, "I really liked it. Can I get it again?" And they said, "Yeah." And then the next year that it came around, they did not offer that to me. But what they did say is like, "We'll give you for the $150 a month. We'll give you every single movie channel that is available." And I was like, "Okay." And so I had there's like 5 HBOs and 4 stars and 4 Showtime. It was like several Cinemax, and it was all these channels. I was like, it was amazing. It was way too. It was before streaming though, so as a callback to last episode, it was probably as many channels as you could get with a movable dish.
was trying to remember. I think that would be about right because I think there were. Yeah, it's been so long. I think there were like two East Coast feeds for HBO, two West Coast feeds, and then some other channel that was still HBO branded. I don't remember the differentiator. Um,
There was like HBO Family and HBO. Um, like they had basically big genres. Like there was, I remember that was a thing.
yeah, I don't remember enough about those channels anymore. I remember we had a massive, like, multi-fold page, just sheet of paper that had everything you could theoretically tune into. And I remember consulting it a lot right at first until I kind of figured out what handful of things I wanted to use. But we also, that was when I think it was TV Guide that came in handy. If it wasn't TV Guide, it was a different periodical. But it was actually a print version that would come weekly with what would be airing on different
Oh yeah,
feeds.
yeah. I remember those.
Yep.
So currently, the channel is you have HBO East, West, and Hawaii, HBO Two East and West, HBO Comedy East and West, HBO Latino, HBO Signature, and HBO Zone, and they all have East and West feeds.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it's not surprising for the East and West feeds, for sure. But the breakdown of channels is definitely not what it was. I remember HBO, HBO 2. I don't remember the others being labeled the way they were.
I remember Family. I don't remember Latino, Signature, or Zone. Maybe Comedy. I'm not sure about Comedy. But they own a lot of other channels. I guess they, I don't know what sister channels are, but it's not a small outfit.
Nope, not anymore. Thinking about, I know we've often compared Apple TV Plus to HBO back in the day.
Yeah.
Have you seen the trailer for the John Krasinski one that looks like it's a mixture of like The Mummy and National Treasure?
No, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. Just take note to look at Apple TV Plus.
You know, Apple TV Plus is, it's a place where I go to. Like it's. I really haven't had, I can't say that it's hit or miss because I haven't really had a miss. I mean, I know that there was one show that I can think of that it was just like, I understand why it got canceled, but I really liked it. I thought it was a good show. And, but yeah, there's a list of shows that I'm wanting to watch on HBO or on Apple TV Plus because they look so good. And I was going to say one of them is Your Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm. I'm a fan of John Hamm.
Yeah, we started watching that one.
So yeah, I'm waiting for them to all drop. So
yeah, since we have so sporadic a time that we watch stuff when we watch it together, we've done well to just get one in a week at this point.
Well, I was just gonna say it's funny because it's like some of the TV watching or the way that we watch is dictated by my significant other, and that she's like, I need to know that I can be able, it's not that I am going to watch all of them. I just need to know that I can watch all of them. I need to, I was like, I need to be able to set the, it's my pace, not their pace, And I was like, I get that. So Government Cheese is another one I'm interested in watching. The Studio.
Yeah, I want to watch The Studio as well.
So yeah, they have a lot. I never watched The Morning Show or C.
I know.
Or Foundation. I want to watch Foundation.
I haven't finished Foundation. I did start it. I'm pretty sure watched an episode or two of The Morning Show. I don't think I've watched anything of C. I watched most of For All Mankind.
Did you like that?
I liked it at first. As I got further in, it just didn't hold my interest as well. Once we got into the future instead of a reimagined past.
Yeah.
But at some point I will go back and pick it back up. So that one and Foundation are both rowing shows for me. So
Yeah, okay.
whatever takes precedent when I'm rowing that's newer is what I watch first, and then I'll go back and finish that out when I don't have anything else on the list, kind of thing. Because it's not that I thought it was bad at all. It's just it didn't have me clamoring to see the next episode.
I gotcha.
But I do want to complete them.
I think this is another thing I like about Apple TV Plus is that I downloaded them for a trip. I downloaded the first season, all 10 episodes of the first season, and I never got to them. And one of the things that I really appreciate about what they do there is that there's no time limit. If you have the service and they're downloaded to your device, you can watch them. You don't have to. I mean, I don't know if you have to. There's nothing in the UI that indicates that you have to re-authenticate, or that they expire, and I like that.
I would imagine there's some check for at least the active service.
Well, I was going to say, I think that because, Apple is in a position here that they also they likely own the device that you're watching from. And so there's maybe some check there. I don't know. Because, I would expect that as soon as you unsubscribe from the service, because the Apple TV app is still.
Well, at this point, you could use. Yeah, at this point, you could use Apple TV on Roku and other platforms too. So there's got to be something that it eventually.
Well, and I expect those apps behave differently as well. But
that's true.
And you're not downloading episodes onto those devices.
That's true. Did they ever release a version for Android phones? I don't think so.
I think they did. I know that there's a Windows version.
Okay.
But I'm pretty confident that they did. They'd be.
It seems kind of dumb not to.
It would be a mistake to not.
Well,
it would be a mistake to.
I don't know if I would actually say it would be a mistake not to. Because depending on whether you targeted like Android tablets, because I would think tablets would be more the mistake. Well, I guess the larger phones are convenient enough.
Oh,
I never watched that much on the phone.
Right. Well, if you didn't have a tablet, you'd use the phone. That would be
that's true.
So,
well, I say that's true, but I could also potentially just use the Mac instead. Like I tend to. The main reason I use the tablet so much is because it's easy with the rower.
Yeah. I'm even just thinking about like out and about, just like not necessarily specific to traveling, but just like, oh yeah, I'm here and I'm waiting for a thing and I'm going to catch up on this next episode. I feel like the phone is going to be the primary place.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's not your TV at home. So just the numbers that there's more of them in there, it's more convenient and it's connected. It's like presumably your phone is connected. So, but that's outside of the use case of it being downloaded. But I just did a quick look, and they're in a lot of places. They're on the Roku, the Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, Fire TV Edition, some Samsung TV models, LG LG WebOS, Vizio, SmartCast, Sony Bravia, the Android TV. They're on the PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Android TV, Windows 10, Android. Yeah. Android didn't come until February of this year, though, and that's for smartphones and tablets.
Ah, okay. Well, at least that explains why I wasn't sure, because I don't keep up with that news anyway.
Right. Like the first few that I listed was 2016. PlayStation, the game consoles, that was 2020. So
yeah, I remember when it hit the game consoles, because I remember seeing like it wasn't an advertisement so as much as it was just the way the PlayStation interface was presented. It was like a new to the store kind of thing. I guess it would technically be an advertisement, but it's more like a news feed for the PlayStation Store.
Right. Yeah, so it's it'll be interesting to see what happens with that platform, and I mean, do you, is it making them money? Like it seems like there's a lot of like money put in. Making TV shows and movies are just not cheap, and they are making high quality movies and TV shows with high caliber actors. I can't imagine that's at all cheap, and I can't imagine. I don't think that they're making.
I can't imagine it being a profitable service yet.
Right.
But then again,
they have so much staying power.
Yeah, and I also don't know how many subscribers. Like I haven't investigated any numbers. So if it's something where enough of the user base maintains it as a part of the service numbers, I'm sure there's a theoretical break-even point at like the 5 or 8 year mark where it starts becoming or trending profitable. All things considered. Like I would expect that type of at least a minimal 5 to 8 year run before it even enters discussions of being profitable.
It's at 9 years, isn't it? Though.
Wow. So let's amend that to 5 to 8 years of good content. Or not good.
That's
5 to 8 years of substantial content. That's a better way to put it.
A good sized library,
right. Because the first couple of years are just kind of testing the waters.
Shows. Yeah.
Then again, maybe those first few years generated enough for them to kind of hit a break-even point and be able to forecast, at X rate of subscriptions and everything else. I don't know. I don't know what all goes into the actuarial tables to figure all that out.
Well, it's better than a car. It feels like it's more in their wheelhouse than a car is.
Yes. I do wish we would at least get a proper, like really useful, customizable CarPlay experience. Like I'd like CarPlay, but it's so drastically limited that it's just not as robust as it could be.
Are you referring to the CarPlay that's like all of the dashes, not just the infotainment?
That would be preferable. Yeah. Like an actual collaboration with a manufacturer to have the experience.
Like they showed it off a few years ago at DubDub.
Right.
I can't remember. Is that CarPlay 2? Is that what they refer to as CarPlay 2?
That was the promise of CarPlay 2, but it never manifested.
I mean, I think that they still are saying in the works, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
Like it's not been. Like I don't think it's been scrapped.
It's another one of those where I also don't really pay a whole lot of. And it's another one of those where I also don't pay a whole lot of attention because I'm not going to buy a new vehicle for it. Right. There is that aspect as well.
They still have it. Excuse me. They still have it on their website at the very bottom of CarPlay, and it just says next generation of CarPlay. No timeline. But yeah, that would be really nice.
I'd also like just more customization for the interface on the current generation of CarPlay.
Yeah. How big a display do you have for CarPlay?
11 inches.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's one that has the whole floating display look. I didn't think I would like it. I actually thought it would annoy me immensely, but I gave it a shot just because of the benefit of if I were to bypass certain restrictions, having a decent size screen. And it never did, but I've found that I do like the larger display, especially when I'm trying to keep like the widget screen up instead of just like the map from a navigation perspective.
Yeah.
So I just wish I could I wish I could manually control the widget screen more.
Yeah, I understand that. With that big so my display is not that big, and so there's not much I would really customize on mine. Maybe some things would be nice because it's like, I don't necessarily need to see the next direction like taking up a third of the
Right.
I was going to say a third of a half or a sixth, if you will. I don't need that.
It's like I don't need
And
the calendar showing up all the time.
right, I was going to say that. I don't need the calendar showing up. But it's not, you know, it's better than nothing, which is what I had before. And it is better than every other vehicle manufacturer I've their own infotainment that I've ever used. I mean, I've been in a Tesla one time, and I was like, it's not better to me. So, and the only Tesla owners or former Tesla owners that I know that have talked about it, they that was what they that was the thing, they wanted CarPlay.
Yeah, the rest of the experience has been phenomenal. Like I have no complaints there. It's just I would like to have more control over what I see on the screen at any given time.
I was gonna say I feel like that's been a long time complaint of, go far as back, go 24 years and say Mac OS 10. There should be more. I was like, hey, set the defaults that you think most users are going to want. Barry, don't make me use the command line to change a plist. Just bury the settings somewhere in a reasonable system settings interface. Like the current system settings interface is bonkers. What are they? It's unlawful chaotic, I'm pretty sure. But it's like, yeah, give me a place to change a lot more settings than I do. Like as the first party, allow me as the second party to change those settings in a non-hostile way. Adjusting a plist being hostile. I'll tell you the setting that that was most important to me to change, that I was like, all right, I'm going to modify plist, and that was when in the Mac OS 10 era of the glass dock. I think that was from Leopard until I don't know when, but I changed it to the flat dock.
I did that for a little while.
Well, and then in 2010, I switched to just using Spotlight as a launcher and hit the dock. I almost never use the dock. Like using the dock now is like, using a dock for the past 15 years has been an accident.
Yeah, the only thing I use the dock for at this point is to empty trash.
Sometimes I use the keyboard shortcut. I don't know. I don't know if that still exists anymore. It's been a while since one that I've emptied trash and tried it, but I'm pretty sure it's probably still there. If Command 1 is for the first floppy drive, or ejecting the first floppy drive, then I bet emptying the trash.
So I know you've got two things that you put in, but it kind of feels like with this conversation, it might be worth jumping to the second one first.
Yeah, I could do that. It's not a lot I have to say. That's why I put it in the micro topic section.
Yeah, it is.
So it's been a while since I talked about my Mac Mini, how I messed it up, and I ended up having to nuke it from orbit and start over. But I got to test out a Time Machine backup that was on an old Synology. I have a Synology from, I think it's from 2013, and I just recently got it up and running again and have been using it as a place to do Time Machine backups. I've got nothing else running on there. When I first bought it, I was like using it for Plex and a number of other things, but that didn't. It was an underpowered, it was a pretty low powered ARM processor in that thing for a while, but yeah, I did not try to upgrade it beyond. I didn't try to redo. I'm blanking on what it's called. Open Core. I didn't try to use Open Core again. I just, because of the things that I use it for, I was like, I really don't need it to. It's on Monterey, and I didn't really need, or Ventura. That's on Ventura, and I didn't really. One of the two. I didn't need it to be updated beyond whatever its limitation was. So I did that, brought it back. It wasn't too bad, but I spent a long time trying to figure out what to do, even to the point where I downloaded log files and uploaded them to ChatGPT for analysis. And the thing is, ChatGPT doesn't know things. It just, it doesn't know things that are right or wrong. It just, here's my response. There's, which is an interesting. You have to think about that before. Well, I think a lot of people don't think about how it doesn't know right and wrong, that things are right or wrong. It's just giving, you give it input, it gives a response based on what it was trained on.
Yeah, there's a reason they keep the banner or the text at the bottom saying that it's fallible.
Yeah, yeah. It's still a great tool. It's like Google it was so cool how it was like, wow, Google. Yeah, I remember mid 2000s, 20 years ago. It's like, wow, Google's really good at searching the internet. It's like, this is really cool. And now I feel like it's the same sort of thing. Now I can search I can ask I can go to one place and I can ask it to search 20 websites for me and the history of certain things. It's like, wow, this is really cool. So that's how I got my Mac Mini working again. So it's like, I had this network backup, and then I went ahead and copied everything over to everything to a hard drive just in case. So worst case scenario, I'd have to do all the settings again. So, but the time machine backup worked.
Nice. I actually need to, well, I don't necessarily need to. I should consider setting up the time machine capabilities on that UNAS that I put in.
Yeah.
It's just tough to get away from just good old rsync.
Yeah. Especially if you've got scripts that you're running.
Yeah, I have one script that I run, and it handles all of it. So.
Yeah, I mean, is it just something you have to remember to do, or do you have that automated?
I thought about automating it, but because right now I do it based on moving files around. Like once I archive stuff off of the laptop onto my externals, that's when I run it. Because technically the archival to the externals is the first backup, and then the archival to the NAS is the secondary. And so I have it in two stages where when I copy to the externals, that's one process, and then I run the script to copy from the externals and synchronize what's on the laptop to the NAS. And that's how I know like when to run it, is when I'm in the process of doing those things. So right now it's not something that I even necessarily have to run weekly. It might be a month before I feel like I need to run it again. So I just haven't automated it yet. It wouldn't hurt anything to do so. It's just
because it's rsync.
Yeah, it's just if there's not that much changing in any given day, then I'm not nothing changing that I'm too concerned about, But then again, I also have everything I'm concerned about synchronized with iCloud Drive and the locals, and I have too many layers of protection to really feel uncomfortable about just running it once a month whenever I decide to.
How would you say you compare to the John Siracusa backup Vortex?
I'm not that bad.
I like how you said not that bad instead of not that good.
Yeah, I recognize there's a certain level of
paranoia.
Yeah. But I'm not, as long as I have a copy backed up, like legitimately backed up to one location, and so it exists on my machine and on that location, I'm pretty comfortable with it, even though it's not really that secure until it's to another location as well.
I have run into one problem with the Mac Mini, and I'm prior to doing anything, when it was which is older, Ventura or
I quit remembering the names when they got out of the cats.
Okay. Fair enough. I quit remembering the names when I stopped working it out. If I had a gun to my head, I might be able to do it. Anyway, Monterey. It's on Monterey, and Ventura was right after Monterey. So, when it was on Monterey, and it was there for a long, long time. I mean, earlier this year, I think it was still on Monterey. I had no problems, and when I tried to uh, sign into iCloud now, it's running into some issue, and I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it just needs to be rebooted, but I did a sign out and a sign back in, and it might be that it's just too old. I'm not sure.
I know.
The thing that I want, reason why I want to make it last as long as it does is because I have 2 terabytes of internal storage. Because it had a SATA hard drive. It's not a performance machine. It's a storage. It stores things. So.
I know they did something within the OS requiring some changes. And I don't remember when the transition was, but that effectively is what you're running into, where I think iCloud requires it requires Apple Silicon now. Or no, it requires one of the T chips. That's what it is. Or the updated OS. I think that's what it is. And it may be that there are certain pieces that only work with the T chips, but I don't know. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. I saw the message when I was trying out OpenCore, or before I tried out OpenCore on that Mac Pro.
Oh, I see.
It gave me the details, and it had something to do with the fact that it didn't have the T chip that meant that it wouldn't work without having OpenCore running to be able to load the newer OS. Or it may be that the newer OS requires the chip, and then as a byproduct, iCloud requires the certain OS.
Right.
Either way, there's some combination of things there where the chip is theoretically required if it wasn't being, I guess, emulated is the correct term within OpenCore.
Hacked. Yeah,
there's some. I don't know which term would fit best, whether it's an emulation or modifying that protection or whatever, but
it's something.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it could have fallen in, that update sounds like it fell in the time frame that I was messing around with it. So I don't know what I'll do. It's still, it's kind of bonkers because it's over 10 years old. And it's just, plugging along, doing what it needs to do.
I don't have a good transition to rec diffs from there.
No. All I was going to say was that, did you catch what I thought was clever?
I didn't actually follow the link yet. Hold on.
Oh, no, you don't have to follow the link.
Just talking about the title?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So I was listening to it, and they talk about the Mandela effect, and, I'm looking at the title, I'm looking at the title. I'm going on my walk, this is I listen to episodes over the course of, whatever time I have. And so either I'm on my way to pick up the kids from school and I see it, see the title there, or I see it when I start the podcast when I'm doing my walk, and I just kept noticing the Mandela effect. And I was like, that's not how you spell Mandela. And then I thought, did they just do a clever thing? They did the Mandela effect on the Mandela effect. And yes, they did. Nelson Mandela's name is spelled with 2 A's and an E instead of 3 A's. And the Mandela effect is also spelled with 2 A's and an E. So the fact that they named the title of their episode Mandela Effect with 3 A's was clever to me. That was all I had to say about that.
So I think part of why I didn't notice it is because I didn't read the notes until after I took my contacts out.
Makes sense.
Because I was glancing, I can, text is the one thing I have trouble with without my contacts in. So I could put my glasses on and be okay. But generally speaking, I can make out the letters enough to not have a problem being functional. And so I glanced at the notes, but I didn't really read the notes. And so as soon as you said something about the title, I turned and got closer to the screen so I could see every line closer or, actually defined. And I noticed it before you finished describing it. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, when I wore corrective lenses, it was that I I couldn't watch TV. I mean, like, even like sitting, if I wanted to like watch TV on my phone, I'd have to have it like 3 inches from my face, because my vision, like, it was. I remember, I think one number I heard a long time ago, like 20 years ago, kind of a long time ago, it was like 2240. So it was not good.
Yeah, my the only real functional problem I have without wearing corrective lenses is legitimately just reading text, whether it's on a screen or on a road sign or anything else. But it's because I've got just such a bad astigmatism that everything that relies on any type of reflection of light to read, so practically everything, is just a problem.
I mean, the only type of reading I know of that doesn't require reflection of light is Braille.
Correct.
Yeah. And I don't understand Braille.
I don't either.
Or I'm not literate in Braille. Maybe that's...
It was just a fun way to say it.
Yeah. I like those clever little science jokes right there.
But funnily enough, like, you would think that I would have an issue then with like getting focus and a viewfinder or something, but that doesn't seem to be problematic. It's just text. And then obviously I wouldn't want to drive at night without corrective lenses, but
I had this so when I was younger and didn't make a lot of, like, I was like, finding ways to pinch pennies. And so in my 20s, I remember the lenses I had, they're like, they're supposed to be replaced every 2 weeks, I think. And I was like, I can get a month out of these, I bet. And so I would routinely get 4 weeks of use out of 2-week lenses, and that was fine. But I remember one time I went with friends. We drove to Boston, and it was for the weekend. It was like, took the Friday off, drove up Friday, and we were going to spend come back on Sunday. And I remember pulling up the first place we were where we were staying Friday afternoon, and got out of the car, and I felt, I can't remember which eye it was, but one of my contact lens in one eye was just like, feels funny. And like I go to touch it, and like my contact falls out in 2 pieces, like it tore while it was in my eye. And I was like, that's not comfortable. And did I bring a backup? I did not. And I refused to wear my glasses during the day, because I hated wearing glasses during the day. They're just, it's like such a hassle to me. So I instead went through, and this was also my first time in Boston. So I spent the whole weekend in Boston with one contact lens in, and that was my way of getting around. And so that was fun. And incidentally, I saw Jon Stewart that weekend.
Could you make out all his features? Was it that bad, or did you adapt pretty well?
I adapted pretty well.
I kind of figured. Normally, as long as one eye is okay, then you might get a headache from it. But
I don't remember getting any headaches, and I also remember it's like, if I really needed to see, know that I was seeing something accurately, I had to either close an eye or cover up the eye, whichever was easier. So like seeing Jon Stewart, I was just like, I had to cover one eye just to make sure, it wasn't somebody who looked like Jon Stewart.
That makes sense. So you saw him out and about. You didn't
yeah,
go...
Yeah.
Gotcha. No.
He was just out and about walking down the street, like with a coffee or something. I might have chased him. It was like one of those things where he was coming our way on the same side of the road on the sidewalk, and I'm like, that's Jon Stewart. And so what did I want to do? I was like, I don't want to bother the guy. I want to leave him alone, leave him in peace. So with that in my head, I was like, I'm going to run down the street past him, ignore him, and then take a picture of him. Not thinking that's what paparazzi does. So he definitely went to the other side of the street and pulled his hat down. I'm like, oh, I messed up here. I messed up. If I had it to do over again, this is what I've learned, and that is that if I see somebody who is, like if I had that moment to do over again, I'd be like, I would just, as we're walking by, say something like, I love your work, and that's it. Or if there's no eye contact or anything, if it's like, if it's clear that they want to be left alone, just, that best thing is to leave them alone. But if there's like eye contact or something or whatever, they're like, I love your work. I had a cousin who went to school in San Francisco, and he ended up walking down the street with Robin Williams for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 blocks, and they talked, just shot the shit.
He struck, I guess, me as the type of person that would do that anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then there's that story of Bill Murray who like showed up at something, like just crashed somebody's house party and did their dishes.
There are a lot of stories like that about him, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he's made it an intentional, like synonymous thing about him, where you never know where he'll show up and what he'll choose to do.
That's his. I think that's a pretty cool thing to be known for. And then I think it's. I'm blanking on his name. He has white hair. Steve Martin. I think his thing is that he carries a card around, and so when people would ask him for a autograph, he would hand them a card, and it says this card, something to the effect of, this card validates that you met Steve Martin and that you found the interaction delightful.
I know it's something like that, because he infamously doesn't do autographs anymore, may never have, but I think there was a period where he did and then transitioned to the cards.
At this point, you don't need you don't need autographs. I mean, it's been 20 years where it's like selfies have been the thing. Take my picture.
And maybe that was the transition. Maybe it was when people started asking for pictures, like, because I think he refuses to do photos as well.
Yeah. I have thought about that, and it's like, I don't, I've come to the conclusion that it's like, I don't need your photograph. I don't need your autograph. I can just say that I had an interaction with someone, and if someone doesn't believe me, then they don't believe me.
I would much rather just sit down and have a conversation, assuming you have time. There are quite a few people that would be great to meet up and just, hey, you want to grab a quick, coffee? I'll pay. And
I think this would actually be a really fantastic topic. Like, who are the top 5 people you'd want to sit down and have dinner with? And, or someone famous, infamous. Do we limit the question to like, can we do this with historical figures, or we just like somebody who's currently living or whatever? But I think I routinely think about like, who are the top 5 people I'd want to have a dinner with. And, there's a lot of people, it's just like, a lot of people that I enjoy as entertainers, or for one reason or another, but I was like, I would not want to have dinner with them because the conversation, like I want, it's about the conversation. It's not about I met this person. But right. I think definitely somebody who would be on the top of my list would be Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I don't know that I would care to have a conversation with him, actually. That's fun. I certainly think a conversation with him would be interesting for all the obvious reasons. I just don't know that I would care enough about like complementary topics, maybe.
See, I would want to, because he goes into the weeds the way I like to go into the weeds.
I get that. And so I think
really
it may just be... Go ahead.
I was going to say, it doesn't really matter what the topic is. We're going to go deep into the weeds in a way that I like to go.
Yeah, I think for me, it may just be that I would be more interested in the topic than the details. So like one of the first people that came to mind was Simon Sinek.
Who's Simon Sinek? Glasses.
Yes.
He talks about...
number of different things, but he would be the one that you would know most from The Golden Circle. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
I think that doesn't help me, but I'm going to... If I see a picture of him, I'll know. But I'm pretty sure
you'll recognize him if you look him up. But he did Start with Why, Leaders Eat Last, bunch of
Yes, yes.
motivational talks. Yeah, like he's
That's exactly the person I was thinking.
yeah. He to me would be a
No, no.
fascinating person to sit down and have a conversation with.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I would have been, John Oliver would have been on my list except for maybe like a few weeks ago after Liverpool clinched the title.
I don't know. I would still enjoy that conversation quite a bit. I think.
I completely joke. I would not miss that opportunity.
Yeah, I figured.
And
I don't know that I would have. See, I haven't sat down and thought about a list in quite a while. So while part of me would love to immediately put him on my list, I need to sit and think about what I would if I were limiting it to 5, not just approximately 5 or anything else, but would he make top 5 for me?
right.
And I think so, but maybe not. Like I need to take a moment to figure it out. Garth Brooks would certainly be on the list for me, just because of the influence over life in general. But there's enough that I would want to know about whether the man and the music share a lot of common philosophies and ideologies the way it seems, or not. So I'd want to dig into that some.
What would you have for dinner? Where would you go? See, I think that's also a fun, because like somehow in my head, I often think about sitting in like a semicircular booth with this person. Like, I guess for the privacy.
I think it would have to depend a lot on which person, because my answer would vary depending on who I was talking to. We'll just use the couple mentioned already as examples. So like with Simon Sinek, I could see a similar type thing. You know, just a restaurant in a corner booth somewhere probably makes the most sense. But a part of me would say that someone like Garth Brooks, I would rather sit around a fire, just outside,
Oh
away from
yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
sit around a fire pit and whether you order food or cook it over the fire, either of those would be valid options.
for sure. That's an I hadn't thought about something like that, and I feel like a musician like that. I feel like you could get into some really good. You can get a. I think you could get a really good conversation because, like, I feel like with even though he'd still be on my list. I feel like what I get from the Star Talk podcast from Neil deGrasse Tyson is actually probably better than the conversation that I would have because there are other people who are asking questions that I haven't thought of, and he's answering those questions. But whereas like somebody like Garth Brooks, it's like there's um, a lot more interpretation to what he's putting out, and you'd be able to like have a conversation about those things where you can like, okay, tell me your interpretation, which is not something that you necessarily know. Whereas like a conversation with Neil deGrasse Tyson, it's like, okay, I know what he's telling me what he thinks. Like there's not a lot of ambiguity there. That is to say that you saying Garth Brooks might make me rethink my list.
As we've talked about it, I think Oliver would be a solid middle pick. Like I don't think he would even get
Mm-hmm.
close to dropping out for me.
And like whoever is your number 5 versus your number 1, it's not like your number 1 is first. It's that it's a limit of 5, and I would say they're all weighted equally once they hit that top 5.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I follow that. My thought was just, would he be in danger of slipping off the list if I had to
Right,
limit it to
right.
5? And
Gotcha.
no, I think he's pretty much
He's
guaranteed a
solidly
spot.
in there.
Yeah,
I always think about. Did you watch Friends?
not religiously, but enough to know it pretty
Enough
well.
to
Yeah.
okay. Well, there's an episode where they, I believe it is Ross and Rachel are dating, and they have a list of like whoever you can, or maybe they're not dating. It doesn't matter. They have a list of people that they can. Their celebrity hall pass, I guess, is what it is. And I just keep thinking about it's like in the episode Ross has Isabella Rossellini on his list, and then he changes it, and then like I think he puts Winona Ryder, like bumps her for Winona Ryder, and then laminates the list, and then he happens to see her, and the reason he bumped her is because she's international, not American, and it's less likely that he'd see her. And then so the joke in the show is that she shows up to the coffee shop to get coffee, and he goes and tells her that she's on his list, and she sees his list, and it's like, I'm not on your list. He's like, oh, this is a draft, and he's like, it's laminated, and he's like, that, just a dumb joke like that. And I often think about, oh man, I got to be careful not, being okay with like, you didn't make the top 5.
I think I remember that episode. I definitely remember aspects.
It was in
of
the
that.
good seasons.
Yeah,
it was one of the episodes in the good seasons.
I'm not entirely sure who else I would add to the list without some actual thought.
Yeah, I don't have my top 5 either. And now that I think about it,
because I was thinking there are certainly others that would be candidates for it, but I can already think of multiple. Because I would just thinking about who all is currently alive. Like, I haven't even considered non-living. If you wanted to go historical, but just currently alive, I can think of a few others that would be definite candidates that I'd have to sit and kind of decide who would I want to limit it to. And they're all over the place. Like, I can think of a couple of politicians that I would be interested in speaking with. I can think of a couple of prolific martial artists that, by way of a lot of their work, could potentially make the list. I don't know.
Yeah, I keep thinking about it. It's like, all right, it needs to be something where it's like, like I said, I'll use Neil deGrasse Tyson again. It's like, I don't know that it would be a lot of new information that he hasn't already put out into the world, and I don't know that I have a lot of good questions to ask. So maybe that wouldn't be a good candidate for dinner, because it's like, the thing that you want to do is to be able to sit down and say to this person, here's this thing that I've always always wondered, and I've never heard an answer. I think that's where it's like, who's the person that you've had question, the person you have, like, I don't know, however many questions that you want to ask of that person that you feel pretty confident that they would answer. It's just nobody has asked them that question, and they haven't volunteered the information.
See, that's an interesting way to think about it, because that's not the way I would think about the conversation. Because I would think about it more from, I just legitimately want to gain more insight into the thought processes and all of this person, and whether it matches what I want it to match.
I mean, I think that's the same thing that I'm saying.
I mean, maybe, but I think you can interpret them in two different ways, and I think that's why, like, I'm not as concerned with an unknown as much as it is validation.
I get the distinction.
I mean, it is definitely similar. It's just,
right.
I think it's more.
Yours is, what you're saying is a little bit more nuanced and specific to what you want to know. It fits in the category of what I'm saying, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
You're thinking, like, here's the thing that I'm thinking, and I want you to, and I think this is how you operate, and I want you to confirm or deny it.
Mostly. And so the only reason I say it that way is just because, like, let's just say you had something that was very specific, and you asked the question, and the response wasn't really an answer to the question, but it served the same general purpose. I'd be fine with that as well, because it's, again, the whole validation aspect. It's more seeking a specific type of interaction, and whether that interaction feels the way you want it to feel, regardless of the specifics of the responses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I don't expect to have a good conversation with, everybody.
I mean,
necessarily.
Right. But that's another thing that I thought of is, like, there's a whole bunch of people, like, I wouldn't want to sit down with, like, an athlete because I don't really have any questions that I would ask, and it would just kind of be an awkward dinner. And I don't want to just sit there and, like, tell them how great I saw the thing that they did that was great was, because, one, they're getting that from a lot of other folks, and they know. We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after-show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.